week we had as our guest the Chief of the Newfoundland Constabulary, Chief Edward Coady. And in the time we had available, we couldn't nearly cover the many aspects of police enforcement, and even with the second program we won't do it all, but we do hope to cover a number of major items that I believe are of interest to you, ladies and gentlemen, as the Chief is our guest again today. So we're delighted to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back.
One thing I would like to touch on right off the bat today is major crime in terms of, is it on the increase in Newfoundland, how we compare with other provinces and other cities, provinces I should say, of similar size approximately in Canada. Are we lagging behind? Are we up to date? Is the criminal element more efficient than we are, is what I'm really asking you, Chief.
Well, they're very efficient.
Yes.
They're very efficient. But we have a committed force. People in the force are committed. And I think we're doing an excellent job, really, in coping with the challenges that we have along the lines of what we refer to as major crime. Particularly if we want to look at crimes such as murder.
Yes.
Which is, of course, something nobody likes to see. Our murder stats are down from other cities and other provinces. So far this year, we've had one murder in our jurisdiction, that is, in the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary jurisdiction.
When you say Royal Newfoundland Constabulary jurisdiction, are you talking about St. John's, Mount Pearl, Corner Brook, Labrador?
Yes. If you regard it as St. John's metropolitan area.
Metropolitan, yes.
Out to Seal Cove.
Surely, yes.
That area. There have been 3 attempted murders in that same time, up to this point in time, this year. Arrests have been made in all cases, which is excellent. These stats compare very favorably to last year, 1987. So we don't see any major increases here. Unfortunately, sexual assaults on children are increasing.
Yes.
And they have rather drastically over recent years. As an example, to date this year, to the end of September, we have had 119, which equals the total for 1987.
Yes.
So they have increased. And if we go back 5 years, we will find there are probably as few as 30 reported cases. So we've seen quite an increase here. Robbery. This is what we refer to as like an armed robbery. Our stats compared to major centers are very low, but we're very concerned about this type of crime. We don't want to see any increases here. We have had 5 this year, and with 1 attempt, so that we've cleared 3 of these, made 3 arrests, which is a very high ratio of clearance here. And once again, the statistics compare very favorably with 1987, the preceding year. I think that the criminal has the message that yes. we will unearth and move mountains if we can to apprehend this type of criminal, and I think that accounts. I think the active police investigation accounts for the low number of armed robberies in our community. Unfortunately, domestic violence is also on the increase. We have a very aggressive enforcement program in the force. This year, we have laid more than 200 charges in connection with domestic violence. It's not a very nice thing to hear about, but it's something that we have to cope with.
And very delicate, too, isn't it, Chief? I'm not sure exactly what the law says specifically in that, but if there's a disagreement between a husband and wife in the home and if there's violence involved, under what conditions can a police officer enter the home?
Well, upon invitation.
Yeah.
And, of course, we deal with the situation as we find it. Some cases are, I wouldn't call any case minor, but some, compared to the more serious cases, are.
Yes.
And we deal with it as we find it when we arrive at the dwelling. Mm-hmm. Our break and entries here are in our jurisdiction are about, shall we say, par for the course over the last number of years. We haven't seen any major increases here. To date, we've had 900. 900 break-in entries, compared to over almost 1,300 last year. So these are very troublesome types of offenses, and these are the ones really that the public are usually more concerned about, and it provides a measure or a yardstick to just what is occurring in our society, in our communities. So I can very proudly report that that the force is doing its job, that we're apprehending criminals at a rate comparable, if not better than, other police forces in Canada. So we're very proud of this fact, but then again, you see, we work very hard in this area, in the area of major crime.
Chief, like all occupations, oftentimes you'll hear people saying, look, if I were in the police force, I do this, and I do that, and I do the other thing. You'll also hear, as I've noticed in a number of things in my life, that if an individual phones, or phoning is not necessarily a good example, but if they're looking for a policeman or woman at a given moment and they're not there, the usual thing is, oh, they're never there, you know, when you need them, sort of thing. But let's look at something that I think is relatively important if the constabulary is to work and if the public generally are to be protected. How can the public, all of us citizens, be of more help to the constabulary, no matter where we live, whether it's in the metropolitan areas you've mentioned, Labrador, Corner Brook and so on, or Mount Pearl? And are the police reaching out enough? Are they aware that the public can help? And what are they doing about it? So there's a two-pronged question there, Chief, if you'd like to take a shot at it.
Well, we are reaching out. We reach out through programs such as Neighborhood Watch.
Are these the community-related programs you have in the force?
This is entirely a community program where neighbors are requested through this Neighborhood Watch program to assist each other and to sort of keep their eye open on each other's property. The public can also help the police by being observant, by noticing and making notes, in fact, of suspicious individuals or suspicious vehicles. We reach the female sector of the population with programs such as Lady Beware, which prepares a female on how to best protect herself. So we're doing things like that. I believe we're reaching quite a number of people. We would like to reach everybody, of course.
Surely.
But by being attentive to what is going on around them, by calling the police force when they see something suspicious, by making notes, by passing on all of this information, that helps the police. Of course, the public must understand and realize that we have approximately 65,000 citizens' complaints each year that come to the office.
That many?
65,000 is an estimate.
Yes.
Each and every one of these calls must be answered. We have to deploy vehicles because our area is spread out, of course. We have large communities such as Conception Bay South, now the city of Mount Pearl, the Goulds area, Torbay, all of these outlying areas that we have to service. And with this number of calls, I think you hit the nail on the head yourself, John, when you said people have to understand that when you call a police officer, he may not necessarily be there immediately. But what we do, we prioritize the calls that we receive. So a serious call, something that is very serious, deemed to be very serious, immediate, life-threatening, or something very serious, we will then drop other cases and respond immediately. Of course, that means that that a lesser call, the person may have to wait a short time.
Yes.
They will be seen by the police officer, but they might not get there immediately.
So in some respects, because of the demand on your time and on the vehicles or whatever and personnel available, you can sometimes unavoidably fall into you're damned if you do and damned if you don't situation.
Yes, and that happens.
Yes.
That happens.
How about, I had a young lady, I forget her name at the moment, member of your force, here on this show last year on the Neighborhood Watch program that I believe you have for families and so on. What are the opportunities? First of all, how many females are there in the force at the moment? I would think you have quite a few also in the administrative staff. And what are the opportunities for women generally in the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary?
Well, we have 17. We started taking the first females in 1981. We have 17, and I'm happy to say that they are in all jurisdictions. They're stationed in Labrador, Corner Brook, and St. John's, of course. And they are operating or functioning in all areas of the force. They're performing all duties.
Are they?
All duties, yes. And I think that's remarkable to have done that well. We have also an NCO. We have a sergeant, female officer. First in Newfoundland, in fact.
Do you?
Yes.
What's her name? Would you mind my asking?
Sergeant Connie Snow.
Sergeant Connie Snow.
Yes.
First female?
Promoted in either force.
Is that so?
As you know, we share the policing here with the RCMP.
Yes.
First promotion in Newfoundland, Labrador of a female was in our force last year.
Oh, we'd certainly like to congratulate her.
Yes.
Just a couple of other items I'd like to touch on here quickly, and that is the computerization. I'm old enough to remember a lot of your predecessors and so on in the force. I remember the police on horses. I remember them going in Waterford Ridge Road, in around Bowring Park and so on. I certainly remember those on cycles, and I remember also any number of your predecessors, Chief Coady, with whom I've dealt over the years through the media and so on. But now you're into computers and high tech and the whole work, so things have changed a lot, huh?
Things have changed. Society has insisted on change. In the days you're talking about, and of course I grew up in St. John's,
sure,
and I remember the same things that you do, the population was small.
Yes.
The police officers had less to contend with, shall we say. Fewer cases.
Yes.
Of course, there were fewer police officers, too. But nevertheless, we find now with the demands on the force, we're in the St. John's metro area, we're policing approximately 165,000 people.
Wow.
So it's impossible to compare that population to, say, 45,000 that we're talking about when we go back in time. So we do need computers. We are hooked up to the Canadian Police Information Centre at Ottawa, which is referred to as CPIC. That's computerized. And of course, we're introducing a PERS. What we call PERS is a system that we're bringing in here now for our criminal records. And PERS represents Police Information Retrieval System. Everything now has a catch name.
Yes.
But this system is computerized. It is for the benefit of the criminal records, where we can get information back from the many, many records, the paper files that we have. And of course, without the aid of computers today, automation, this would be impossible. So this is the direction that we're going in. We're on the forefront, really, of policing in Canada. The force, as I said, is progressive, and this is just another example of the direction that we're going in.
Chief, I have about 1 minute left, and there's something I'd just like to touch on before closing, not as extensively as I would like, and that's the history of the force. I believe you're going to set up a museum and so on, are you?
Yes, we have a dedicated group of people, a good cross-section. Dr. Shannon Ryan of Memorial University, Professor Ryan is of tremendous help to me. We also have some business people serving on the Board of Trustees, and we've made good progress in identifying the history of the force. It has never been documented fully. We've had one book written by a sergeant of the force. His resources were limited at the time, but now I'm happy to report we're well underway to creating a museum, as well as hopefully documenting the history of the force, going way back and authenticating, if you wish, the history that I gave you on our first program last week.
Okay, Chief, I'd like to go into that more. Unfortunately, our time is up. I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today and last week as well, and we will have you back soon, I hope. It's been a delight having you. I wish you and all 300 or 400 members well, and I hope citizens generally will realize now the position and job of the police and will help you all they can. Thank you again, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week at the same time.